Hej, witam was serdecznie, z tej strony Kinezyna, to jest kolejny odcinek i nie było już nikogo. Wiem, że muszę odnaleźć pokój sędziego. Tylko, że nie mam pojęcia, który to był. To jest pokój Blora, to pamiętam. O Jezu, ale mnie przestraszyli. Przecież wiedziałam, że tu stoją. Nie, to jest pokój Lombarda. Jak tu stoją w ogóle jak takie kołki. To jest pokój Brent. Może pokój sędziego jest koło Brent. Nie, to jest pokój generała. Ja w ogóle nie mogę sobie przypomnieć, jak pokój sędziego wyglądał. Który to był? Nie, to nie jest pokój sędziego. Z tego pierwszego, który umarł i którego imienia nawet już nie pamiętam. Korytarz. To jest pokój sędziego?
Wargrave's body is missing. Interesting development. One I'd better keep to myself for the moment.
Tak, jak widzicie, ciało sędziego zniknęło. Musimy je odnaleźć. Jest jedno miejsce, w którym może być. Ktoś musiał je w ogóle przenieść, tak? Ale oni byli w sumie niby cały czas razem. Z tego co wiem, powinno być tu. Ale... Kto wie, bo może być tak, że jeszcze coś musi mi zatriggerować, żeby mi się to uruchomiło. Mogę mieć jeszcze coś ominięte, czego nie zrobiłam.
What did you do before Blore found you?
Crept along the balcony to Vera's window and gave her my gun.
Very generous.
Then I went up onto Ship Rock. I set the bonfire ablaze, but someone will have to keep an eye on it throughout the night.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Lombard.
Have you looked in the dining room?
No.
What is it? What is it now?
Only 3 sailor boys are left.
Aha, dobra, teraz się wreszcie coś
Chapter
ruszyło.
8. 3 little sailor boys walking in the zoo. A big bear hugged one, and then there were 2.
3 little sailor boys walking in the zoo.
I've been all over this island more than once, and I've yet to see a bear.
We should stay together in one room. I still have the gun. Wouldn't we be safe then?
Possibly. Provided you aren't Owen.
We can't. One of us has to keep the signal fire on Ship Rock going.
And there's something else. Armstrong isn't the only one of us to have vanished.
The rest of us are here.
Those still alive, yes.
Wargrave's body is missing.
Huh. I have to admit, not much seems to get past you, Narracott.
Oh, how ghastly.
We better find it.
Vera is safe enough locked in her room with the gun. Blore, if you and Narracott search for Wargrave...
You mean for his body?
Yes, if you like. I'll keep the bonfire going. There's only one path up to Ship Rock. If I keep an eye on that and have a flaming torch close at hand, I should be fine.
I've got this. I'll be all right. I'm going to find Wargrave.
Would you gentlemen mind escorting me to my room?
My pleasure.
Fine, Lombard. I'll start looking for Wargrave too.
Oh, Patrick.
Dobra, Patryk ją odprowadził do pokoju, a my w takim razie idziemy szukać Wargrave'a. Ja już wiem, gdzie on jest, tak jak mówiłam. On w tym miejscu jest, tylko jak widzieliście, musieliśmy najpierw tą scenkę. Ale to jest właśnie śmieszne, widzicie, jego przecież wcześniej tam nie było, tak?
Dead as Hamlet's dad, but not shot. And the body is still warm. The body was thoroughly searched. No need to disturb it now.
No dobra,
There's
znaleźliśmy
nothing I
go.
can do for the victim now.
W sumie nic więcej chyba nie możemy zrobić. Nie, tu jest tylko ten filmik 3 Days.
What that was all about.
Dobra, w takim razie się stąd wynosimy. Musimy jeszcze znaleźć ciało doktora, ponieważ wiemy, że on nie żyje. Nie wiem, czy teraz mi będzie dane wreszcie je znaleźć. Jak już mówiłam, to trzeba wszystko robić w określonej kolejności, inaczej po prostu nie działa. Jest to niestety irytujące, ale typowe dla przygodówek. Po prostu nie możesz przejść dalej, dopóki się nie podrapiesz po tyłku. No ale taki jest urok tych gier. Trzeba się do tego przyzwyczaić. Dobra. Mam nadzieję, że na plaży będzie doktor. Nie ma go. O, jest problem. Przy ogniu też pewnie nikogo nie ma, więc pora wrócić do domu. Ta gra niestety ma to, że zwłaszcza pod koniec łatwo się zniechęcić przez te właśnie momenty, przez które człowiek nie wie, dlaczego nie może ruszyć dalej. Bo historia jest naprawdę świetna i wciągająca, ale gameplayowo trochę czasem zgrzyta. Zwłaszcza wiem, jak to było, kiedy przechodziłyśmy ją po raz pierwszy i człowiek tak w ogóle już nic nie wiedział. To były momenty, w których się naprawdę łatwo było po prostu zaciąć na amen. I ciężko nawet z solucją było potem znaleźć, co tak naprawdę należy zrobić. Tu jest pokój Wery, tak? Ja bym chciała sobie zapisać przy tym pokoju. Będę dużo zapisywać, ponieważ są określone momenty, w których trzeba zapisać i ja nie pamiętam, w których one są.
It's locked fast.
A to była Wery pokój, nie? Był. Tu Lombarda. Czy z Lombarda do Wery pokoju? Nie bardzo. A nie, poczekajcie, ale to... Aha, bo to Wery w drugą stronę. Musiała iść do pokoju panny Brent. Może by się dało wejść do Wery od Brent pokoju. Tym, balkonem. Nie, zamknięte. No szkurcze. No i właśnie to jest taki moment, w którym ja znowu nie wiem, co ja bym dokładnie musiała zrobić, żeby ruszyć dalej. I dużo jest wtedy takiego, wiecie, bezsensownego latania z pokoju do pokoju.
I can't open it. It's locked.
W nadziei, że coś się jednak ruszy. Nie, to był pokój Blora. To jest pokój lekarza, doktora. Nie, to jest łazienka. To jest pokój Wargrave'a. To jest ten korytarzyk. No to zaglądam, widzicie, do wszystkich pokoi. Bo nuż gdzieś coś się uruchomi, ale na to nie wygląda. I tak człowiek będzie wędrował teraz ciągle. Dlatego mówię, no to jest właśnie ten moment, w którym jest właśnie ta już końcówka gry jest trochę irytująca przez to. To jest właśnie ten moment, w którym ja w tej grze nie przepadam, tak? Bo człowiek już naprawdę nie wie, co robi źle. Po prostu przelatywanie, wiecie, 10. raz przez te same pomieszczenia ciągle i ciągle. No to też nie jest ciekawe, tak? Ani fajne, ani ten, bo człowiek nie wie, czy robi coś dobrze, czy ma gdzieś trafić po prostu przypadkiem. Nie wiem, no była jeszcze jedna plaża, ale tam do tej plaży to mi się nie chce aż biec. Bo ona jest daleko. No dobra, może się przelecę. A jakiej tylko tam nie będzie. Przecież to jest kurczę kawał drogi. No to wtedy już po prostu jakoś inaczej to wymyślę. Jak się tu z drugiej strony wychodziło? Aha. Ach. Przez bibliotekę. Już nie wiem, czemu nie można tam pod schodami przejść, też bez sensu. Trzeba przodem zawsze przechodzić. Na przykład nie wiem, gdzie jest Blor. Widzicie, przeszliśmy już wszystko, a go nie ma. Doktora właśnie nigdzie nie możemy... Blor tu jest.
Law. Looks like his head is caved in.
What is it? I heard a cry.
It's Blore. His head's been smashed in by a marble clock in the shape of a bear.
Oh, but there was one on my... Wait there a moment.
No wiesz co, stawiacie w złym położeniu.
It was on my mantle. When Philip escorted me to my room, it must have been already gone. One of you. Philip. Or you.
Przecież mnie tam nawet nie było.
Wait!
Podnieśmy to. A czy ja mogę z tego zdjąć odciski palców?
There is no cause for that.
Pff, nie można, to bez sensu. W każdym bądź razie lecimy do Wery na górę. No widzicie, dobrze, że poszłam tam, bo Blor tam leżał nieprzytomny, ale ciała doktora dalej nie znalazłam. Więc zaraz ja już chyba ominęłam jej pokój. No, przeleciałam w kółko. Ja to jestem dobra. Tu jest jej pokój. Tu.
It's locked fast.
Ty no! Dlaczego ja nie mogę do niej iść? Czy to bez sensu? Oskarża mnie, a teraz nie pozwala mi do niej iść. A może teraz mogę znaleźć ciało doktora? Och, ja już naprawdę nie wiem. Jestem zagubiona w tej grze bardzo. Bo niby wiem, co zrobić, ale to w sumie tak nie wychodzi, jak wiem, jak powinno. Idziemy na to jeszcze raz, idę na plażę. Jak tam nie ma ciała doktora, to już naprawdę nie wiem, co zrobić. Wera się schowała. Może naprawdę nie na tej plaży, ale wydawało mi się... Jeszcze raz na skałę. Dobra, wiecie co? Robię tu przerwę. Ja po prostu muszę się zorientować, co dalej, bo biegam bez sensu. Okej, możliwe, że ciało, do którego mogłam znaleźć już wcześniej, okazuje się, że na plaży można zejść też tak jakby tutaj. I tu jest jego ciało.
Dr. Armstrong, dead for hours. And by the looks of him, he's been in the sea most of that time.
Chapter 9. Two little sailor boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up, and then there was
Czyli
blood.
ostatni ktoś zapewne spali się w ognisku.
Don't try to get in. I'm pointing the gun at the door.
I'm not the killer!
You're trying to make me believe Philip is the killer.
Armstrong's dead. His body washed up on the rocks. And Wargrave is sitting in the screening room, dead, again.
That's impossible.
I swear it! This time he was bludgeoned with the law book he wrote. I think that's how he was originally meant to die.
The next rhyme. Two little sailor boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up. That means we'll be safe till morning, doesn't it? No one can be frizzled up at night.
No właśnie, i teraz warto zapisać, dlatego że mamy dwie opcje do wyboru. Możemy albo uratować Lombarda, albo powłóczyć się po domu i dać mu zginąć. Ja oczywiście jestem człowiekiem, który jeśli się da, no to będzie go ratował. Czyli od razu lecę na skałę, na całą tą skałę tam, gdzie jest ognisko. Ze względu na to, że jest to jedyna rzecz, która teraz może go przypiec. Zresztą Lombard miał pilnować ogniska. I to jest właśnie moment, w którym właśnie zaczyna się pewna nieliniowość w tej grze, bo możemy właśnie dać mu zginąć. Ale nawet jeżeli był dupkiem nieraz, to jednak życie to życie i nie damy mu tak łatwo zginąć. Mam nadzieję, że uda mi się go uratować.
No tricks, Narracott, or I'll light you up like Guy
Ja chcę cię
Fawkes.
ratować.
Lombard, listen to me. Blore is dead. Armstrong's dead. So is Wargrave. You're next. You have to be.
That may be your plan, but it won't work.
There's no way Owen can approach you without being seen. Correct?
As we're proving right now.
So it must be some sort of trap. Already set before you came up here.
What sort of trap?
The rhyme. Two little sailor boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up. The only thing approaching the sun on this island right now is that fire. Get away from it.
Wow.
I like a good explosion as much as the next fella, but not when I'm the target. I owe you an apology, Narracott, and my thanks for saving my life.
Believe me, I wasn't sure. You out of everyone had been responsible for the most deaths.
Your detecting skills played you false there, old boy. You see, I'm not Philip Lombard. My name is Charles Morley. Got papers to prove it, too. Bill was a friend of mine. He committed suicide a couple of weeks ago. I was at his place when the solicitor Morris rang up. It sounded suspicious. I thought it might have something to do with Phil's death. I wanted to get to the bottom of it, so I came along in his place. Besides, 100 guineas is 100 guineas.
So you're no murderer.
I'll confess I've thought of murdering you more than once the past few days.
Listen, Lombard. Morley. I need to ask you a terrific favor.
You've earned the right.
Can you play dead for a while? Stay out of sight.
Vera must be the killer.
The jury's still out as far as I'm concerned. But if Owen thinks you're out of the way, he may try for me.
Or Vera, if she's innocent.
Which is why I have to get back to the house.
Say, old man, if you want to get into the house without making a racket, the window to my bathroom is open. I used it to get out on the balcony and, make sure Vera was safe.
Uh-huh. Okay, thanks for the tip. Will you lie low? Come running if there's trouble.
It'll be a pleasure to return the favor, old man.
Chapter 10. One little sailor boy left all alone. He went and hanged himself, and then there were none.
I hear a voice. No, voices. They're coming from upstairs.
Tak, i generalnie gra ma kilka zakończeń. I mam nadzieję, że uda mi się zrobić to, które ja bym chciała, żeby było. Tego udam się na górę. Oho, stryczek tu wisi. Przygotowany już na ostatniego murzynka. A raczej marynarzyka.
But I don't understand. How can you be here? How could you get into my room so easily?
I've always had a duplicate set of keys, Miss Claythorne, as a former and actually the current owner of this house.
You own this house?
I have for several years. I saw to it that Emily Brent died 2 weeks ago. I took her place for the weekend. My finest performance, I think. Worthy of the Oscar the Academy always refused me.
But the bee stings.
Hurt like hell and did nothing for my complexion, but Emily Brent was allergic, not me. It's my apiary after all.
Who are you?
My name is Gabrielle Steele. You've seen my posters in the screening room.
The actress. Some scandal in Hollywood.
Scandal? Well, I guess if you call trying to kill your leading man a scandal, yes it was. My final picture, Last of the Borgias, something happened. Lillian Borgia, the character I portrayed. One day on the set, suddenly she was inside my head. She wormed her way in. That's the only way I can think to explain it. Telling me to do things. Showing me how. They called it a breakdown. I now like to think of it as a meeting of two minds.
But why this elaborate plot? Why kill all these people? Why?
Wargrave, of course. He was absolutely right. He was the central character in our little drama.
The Edward Seaton trial?
Yes, Edward Seaton. My love. My life. We met some years ago when I first came to London to star in a play in the West End. Then, after the incident in Hollywood, I came back to England to rest. They wanted me to rest. Edward and I fell in love. I cannot describe to you the depth of our love. You wouldn't understand. I've seen how you flirted with Lombard and Narracott, playing them off against one another.
Did I? I was frightened and confused.
I suppose that's as good an explanation as any. I was never confused. Edward was an innocent man railroaded by that venomous old judge simply to prove a point. That it was his courtroom, his law. 3 days Edward suffered. He couldn't bear the shame or what it would do to me. He killed himself for me. I wanted Wargrave to suffer those 3 days, watching as death approached, powerless to prevent it.
But why the rest of us?
I met Miss Brent at a resort soon after I arrived in England. Hateful old hag. I think I caught her qualities quite nicely. I heard how she had punished Beatrice Taylor for her so-called sin. Drove her to take her own life, just as Wargrave had driven Edward to suicide. I wanted to extend Wargrave's torture for 3 excruciating days. What better way than to make him watch others die? Crimes committed under his very nose. Deaths he was helpless to prevent. How his ego must have been scraped raw.
You researched? Found us all?
Others who had apparently escaped justice, like Miss Brent, with the help of my attorney, Archibald Morris.
How could he agree to help with such a mad plan?
Mad? Madmen kill for no reason, no sense of justice at all. I only killed those who deserved to die. And Morris was a perfect little lawyer, asking no questions as long as the money was good. He'd been responsible for a few miscarriages of justice on his own, so killing him was not a serious moral dilemma. Then the stage was set. We arrived on my island, and the play began. The trickiest part was goading Armstrong into getting so drunk he wouldn't notice the imperceptible pulse that remained after I took the curare. A few bee stings, and then a liberal application of Bellman's universal embrocation to complete the effect. It causes a nasty rash. He saw what he expected to see, a severe allergic reaction that can only result in death.
You killed the judge twice.
Hardly. The first time was some fool scheme he cooked up on his own with Armstrong, so he could pretend to be dead and catch Mr. Owen. I admit stealing Miss Brent's grey yarn and fashioning a wig from it was a nice touch. So angry. I couldn't think who had done it or why. I thought braining him with his own law book would be enough to fit the Chancery rhyme.
If you shoot me, you'll be arrested. Patrick will catch you.
I'll deal with Mr. Narracott presently. Then I'll take poison. This ring I wear is a prop from the Borgia movie. Came in very handy this weekend. First for Marston, then Ethel, then my own curare. And now, here we are. Once I'm dead, you can hang yourself and complete the rhyme.
And if I refuse to hang myself?
My dear, what do you think will happen to you if you're the only person found alive on an island with 10 dead bodies? If you don't hang yourself, the law most certainly will.
Tak, i teraz zapiszę, bo nie pamiętam, co trzeba było zrobić, żeby ją powstrzymać. Ale w każdym razie musimy coś zrobić, żeby ją powstrzymać. W każdym razie, jeżeli jej nie powstrzymamy, może uderzmy ją dużym kawałem marmuru? Dokładnie. Jakie sztuczne włosy tu ma. Jak widzieliście, to była Danielle Steele. Nie możecie powiedzieć, że nie było to zaskakujące. Prawdę mówiąc, nie pamiętałam tego. Naprawdę. To jest zaskakujące, a powinnam była to bardziej pamiętać, prawda?
Thank you, Charles.
That's right. If you ever need a break from Narracott, Charles Morley is in the London Directory. Treat her right, Narracott. As far as I'm concerned, you're a better man in a tight spot than Phil ever was. This little sailor boy isn't going near the sea for a long time to come.
Will you listen to me now?
If you insist.
Hugo and Cyril went down to the beach early that day. By the time I arrived, Cyril was out too far. It was too late to reach him. Hugo claimed he had been distracted helping a passerby with directions. I knew how it would look. I thought I loved him. So I told the coroner's inquest that it was I who had been on the beach. Later, when I was cleared, Hugo was jubilant, yet his feelings for me seemed to have vanished. I realized I had served my purpose. How would it have looked if the boy who stood between him and a fortune died while in his charge? He didn't think he'd done anything wrong. That was the most frightening part. Cyril wanted to swim out to the rocks. All Hugo did was let him.
Mr. Owen invited the wrong guest. It should have been Hugo out there.
No. I should have told the police the truth in the first place. I will now. I have no more right to subvert justice than Mr. Owen. Where is your brother?
Plymouth, turning himself in. Thanks to your and Morley's statements, he's sure to be exonerated.
And us?
Are you still confused?
No. I'm certain now. What about you?
Well, there's another ending to that 10 little sailor boys rhyme. One little sailor boy left all alone. He got married, and then there were none.
Tak, czyli taki happy ending nam się udał. Trochę happy nie do końca, ponieważ jakby nie patrzeć, 9 ludzi zmarło.
Silence, please. I have prepared a special reward for you. The original ending to our little story is somewhat different than the one you have just experienced. If you can complete a final puzzle, childishly simple really, you will be able to learn the original solution to "And Then There Were None," as Dame Agatha Christie first wrote it. Interested? Then your first step is to make your way to the dining room for a final treat.
Tak, i możemy jeszcze na dodatek poznać zakończenie książki I nie było już nikogo, oryginalne, ponieważ zakończenie gry różni się od zakończenia książki, co według mnie jest w ogóle fajnym posunięciem, ponieważ człowiek, który czytał książkę, mógł się przynajmniej zaskoczyć grając w grę. Oczywiście, jak już chciałam powiedzieć, Danielle Steele okazała się zabójczynią, udawała pannę Brent, co jest właściwie bardzo zaskakujące, ale my ją powstrzymaliśmy, powiesiliśmy ją. I udało nam się ocalić Lombarda, który okazał się nie być Lombardem, oraz Werę. Zdobyliśmy dziewczynę i to jest dobre zakończenie według mnie, najlepsze jakie może być.
The last little sailor boy.
Tak, mamy ostatniego marynarzyka.
Nothing else to see about that. I can't take that apart.
Nie wiem do końca co z tym ostatnim marynarzykiem. Wiem, że nam się udało, znaczy wiem, że widziałam to prawdziwe zakończenie. Znaczy to zakończenie z książki. Tylko, że nie wiem co dalej. Wiem, że na pewno chodziło o to, by wyświetlić film tutaj. Ale skąd... Znaczy, klucz bym musiała, potrzebowała klucz. Tutaj, do tej szafki. Tylko, że... Najprościej by było, że kluczem jest marynarzyk. Aha, no dobra. Jest kluczykiem marynarzyk. Hello again. Mamy film. I pozwolę wam go obejrzeć.
The film has been spooled.
From my earliest youth, I realized that my nature was a mass of contradictions. I have an incurably romantic imagination, and it was for this reason that I adopted a rather childish and unreliable approach, writing my confession, enclosing it in a bottle, and casting it into the waves. There is 100 to 1 chance that this confession may be found, and then a hitherto unsolved murder mystery will be explained. Another trait born of my contradictory nature is my sadistic delight in causing death. From an early age, I knew very strongly the lust to kill. And yet, I was also indoctrinated with a strong sense of justice. I have always felt that the innocent should be spared and the guilty punished. With this mental makeup, it was inevitable that I would adopt the law as my profession. After ascending to the bench, I found that most of my baser desires were quenched in a legal and just way. And yet of late, I have felt a nagging urge, one that will not free me from its insistent grip. That is the urge to commit a murder myself. I fancied myself an artist in crime, and my imagination waxed secretly to this colossal force. However, I was restrained by my innate sense of justice. The innocent must not suffer. And then, quite suddenly, the solution came to me. I would punish those that the law could not touch. In my years on the bench, there were many cases that frustrated my will, cases wherein I knew the accused to be guilty, and yet the evidence was such that he could never be convicted. Cases of deliberate murder that were quite untouchable within the confines of the law. So I determined to commit not just one murder, but murder on a grand scale. A childish rhyme of my infancy came back to me, the rhyme of the 10 little sailor boys. Something about it fascinated me, the inexorable diminishment, the sense of inevitability. And so I began, secretly, to collect victims. I will not go into detail about how this was accomplished. Suffice to say, I was convinced of the guilt of every one of my victims, and I knew enough about them via my connections to be able to lure each one to Shipwreck Island with an appropriate bait. And now to the mechanics of the actual crime. In what I took as a sign, none of my plans misfired, and all of my guests arrived at Shipwreck Island on the 8th of August. The party included myself. The order of the deaths were dictated by what I viewed as my victims' varying degrees of guilt. Those whose guilt was lightest should go first, and not suffer the increasing mental strain and fear reserved for the more cold-blooded offenders. The first death had already occurred. Archibald Morris, a shady little dope peddler, had set up the details for me, renting the island, sending the letters, and recording the gramophone record before I ended his life with a dose of potassium cyanide. Anthony Marsden and Mrs. Rogers died next, one instantaneously, the other in a peaceful sleep. Marsden's crime was one of circumstance, and his amoral nature. Mrs. Rogers, I had no doubt, acted largely under the influence of her husband. Their murders were the easiest. Poison, easily slipped into a glass for each of them, as at this point no one had any reason to be suspicious. General Mackenzie met his death quite painlessly, and never heard me approach. I am convinced that he was dead long before he ever came to Shipwreck Island. At this point, I found it necessary to recruit an ally. Dr. Armstrong seemed the most suited to this task, as it was inconceivable to him that a man of my standing could be a murderer. He was taken in with no resistance. I killed Rogers on the morning of the 10th. He too did not hear me approach. During the chaos arising from finding his body, I slipped into Lombard's room and abstracted his revolver. At breakfast, I slipped my last dose of poison into Miss Brent's coffee. It was enough to render her unconscious, and I returned a short time later to inject a strong dose of cyanide into her. It was just after this that I intimated to Armstrong that we must carry our plan into effect, that I must appear to be the next victim. This would, perhaps, rattle the murderer, and at any rate would allow me to move about the house and spy on whom I wished. A gunshot and some red mud on the forehead was all it took. After all, it was only Armstrong who examined me closely. After returning the revolver to Lombard's room, I had a rendezvous set up with Armstrong on the edge of a cliff. He was still quite unsuspicious, although he ought to have been warned by the nursery rhyme, "A red herring swallowed one." Once at the cliff, I uttered an exclamation, leaned over the cliff. Wasn't that the mouth of a cave? He leaned right over. A swift push sent him quickly into the heaving sea below. He took the red herring all right. And now came the moment I had anticipated. 3 people who were so frightened of each other that anything might happen. And one of them had a revolver. I watched them from the windows of the house. When Blore came up alone, I had the big marble clock poised ready. Exit Blore. From my window, I saw Vera shoot Lombard. I always thought she was a match for him and more. I then immediately set the stage in her bedroom. It was an interesting experiment. Would the knowledge of her own guilt, the hypnotic suggestion of her surroundings, and the nervous tension of having just shot a man be enough to coerce her into taking her own life? It was. Vera Claythorne hanged herself before my very eyes as I stood in the shadow of the wardrobe. And now I shall finish writing this. I shall enclose it and seal it in a bottle and throw the bottle into the sea. Why? Yes. Why? I suppose I have a pitiful human wish that someone should know just how clever I have been. I must go now and finish this. It is essential that my body be found in accordance with the record kept by my fellow victims. My own life is of no consequence. My doctors tell me I have a month to live at most. I do not wish to die the death of the invalid patient, steeped to the gills in drugs, culminating in a complete loss of human dignity. I will instead be found laid neatly in my bed, shot through the forehead. When the sea goes down, there will come from the mainland boats and men, and they will find 10 dead bodies and an unsolved problem on Shipwreck Island. Signed, Lawrence Wargrave.
Czyli jak widzicie w oryginale, w książce, zabójcą był sędzia. I to wszystko się bardzo dobrze układa wtedy. Ale jak widzicie w samej grze zmienili to, żeby była to Daniel Steele i żeby było to dla ludzi znających powieść jakieś zaskoczenie. Oczywiście w oryginale nie było również Narakota, jakby nie patrzeć. Ogólnie gra, ona mi się podoba, jeżeli chodzi o historię, ale wiadomo, tutaj historia, jakby nie patrzeć, jest wzięta od Agaty Christie, więc nie ma tutaj nic dziwnego, że historia jest dobra. Ale gameplayowo potrafi ta gra zirytować. Pamiętam, że było, zwłaszcza jeżeli się grało za pierwszym razem, momentami była irytująca, ale i tak mimo wszystko mam nadzieję, że wam się podobała, że śledziliście z niecierpliwością, że ciekawiło was, kto zabija, dlaczego zabija, jak zabija, kto będzie ginął następny i czy uda nam się tę sprawę rozwiązać. No i że podobała wam się na przykład, tak jak mi, bardzo muzyka, która ciągle w tle tam gra, naprawdę, bo muzykę trzeba przyznać, wtedy nie zwróciłam na to uwagi, jak grałam pierwszy raz, ale teraz naprawdę, że muzyka była świetna. No i sama gra naprawdę, myślę, że nie jest zła, że jeżeli ktoś ma ochotę, to są jeszcze 2 części gier z tej serii. Ja grałam tylko w Morderstwo w Orient Expressie, a w Zło, które czai się pod słońcem, no nie miałyśmy okazji dokończyć. Już nawet nie pamiętam dlaczego, ale po prostu utknęłyśmy gdzieś tam w połowie i koniec końców pewnie już nigdy tego nie skończę. Ale też nie pamiętam, że mnie aż tak wciągnęło. Było dużo łażenia po takim ośrodku. No dobra, w każdym razie ja już zaczynam o innej grze mówić. Mam nadzieję, że let's play wam się podobał. Może więcej przygodówek się pojawi u mnie, nie wiem. Podoba mi się nagrywanie przygodówek, ale chyba nie podoba mi się zbytnio ich oglądanie. Nie wiem, zobaczę jeszcze, jak znajdę coś ciekawego, to kto wie. A teraz ja was, moi znudzeni wędrowcy, pozdrawiam bardzo serdecznie i do usłyszenia w kolejnym odcinku jakiejś nowej serii. Cześć!
I can't risk grabbing for the gun. She'd surely get a shot off before I reached her.
You killed her, Narakot.
Thanks for writing that statement, Lombard. I mean, Morley.
My pleasure. Law's confession should easily exonerate your brother.
I owe you one.
After saving my life? We're not even, old man. I still owe you. You remember to look for Charles Morley in the London Directory if you ever need anything. As far as I'm concerned, you're a better man in a tight spot than Lombard ever was. So long. This little sailor boy isn't going near the sea for a long time to come.
Silence!
late.
I'm sorry, Lombard. You may have left those men to die, but Owen had no right to be your executioner. I'm sorry I wasn't in time to save Lombard. If only I'd gotten to Shiprock sooner.
He was responsible for the deaths of 21 men, Patrick. I don't know what I ever saw in him. Will you listen to me now?
If you insist.
Hugo and Cyril went down to the beach early that day. By the time I arrived, Cyril was out too far. It was too late to reach him. Hugo claimed he had been distracted helping a passerby with directions. I knew how it would look. I thought I loved him. So I told the coroner's inquest that it was I who had been on the beach. Later, when I was cleared, Hugo was jubilant, yet his feelings for me seemed to have vanished. I realized I had served my purpose. How would it have looked if the boy who stood between him and a fortune died while in his charge? He didn't think he'd done anything wrong. That was the most frightening part. Cyril wanted to swim out to the rocks. All Hugo did was let him.
Mr. Owen invited the wrong guest. It should have been Hugo out there.
No. I should have told the police the truth in the first place. I will now. I have no more right to subvert justice than Mr. Owen. Where is your brother?
Plymouth, turning himself in. Thanks to your statement, he's sure to be exonerated.
And us?
Are you still confused?
No. I'm certain now. What about you?
Well, there's another ending to that 10 little sailor boys rhyme. One little sailor boy left all alone. He got married, and then there were none.
You killed her, Maricot.
The tickets are all booked. Suitcases are in the boot of the taxi. We're all set.
Thanks, Pat.
Don't thank me. If I'd been able to save at least one person on Shipwreck Island, they could have corroborated Blaw's confession. You'd be cleared and we wouldn't be running to Australia.
Are you sure you have to go?
Fred, there are 10 bodies on that island waiting to be discovered. Mr. Owen was right. The law would see that the last little sailor boy hangs.